See, 11 years ago. It's Barbara Lee Shaw, who founded MGEF, who back in 1999 had the vision and the commitment to make this happen. It all started while she was on a photography trip in Kenya, photographing and living with the Maasai. She met a little girl who was maybe 6 years old, who was brave and curious and who captured her heart. And Tanine is up there in the pink dress. That's what she looked like when she first met her. She knew there was no chance that this bright little girl from Kilonito would ever have the chance to go to school. Like other Maasai girls from remote areas, she would never learn to read or write. She would have her genitals cut at the age of about 12 or 13 and be married off to a man of her father's choosing for a dowry of about 5 cows. Instead, before Mom left Kilonito, she had an agreement with Ntani's father, and she became the first girl in her family of more than 20 kids to enroll in school. She also, as it turns out, became the first MGEF scholarship recipient, because the next year, Mom founded MGEF as a non-governmental organization, a nonprofit, with the mission to improve the literacy, health, and economic well-being of Maasai women in Kenya and their families through the education of girls and their communities. Mom went back every year to make sure Ntanine was thriving. And each year there were more girls who came to her looking for the same chance to go to school. Some had run away, fleeing forced marriage. Others were brought to her, sometimes from very long distances, by their parents, hoping for an opportunity for their daughters they couldn't otherwise afford. She took them all and then came home to find sponsors for them. 25 years later, more than 300 MGEF graduates have become teachers, nurses, businesswomen. They're doctors, lawyers, dentists, beauticians, agriculture specialists, for those of you here in the Ag Reserve, and more. And all, yes, all of them, return home to their communities to help. Educated, empowered Maasai women, they're natural mentors. They're role models for our younger students and for all Maasai girls. In 2013, when I inherited MGEF, 130 girls had received MGEF scholarships. Every single one of them was close to Mom's heart. She knew their names, their villages, their families, their circumstances, and what they wanted to be when they grew up. She shared their dreams for themselves, and they mattered so much to her. So I say I inherited MGEF, but that's not really right, because I was not willed it. Mom never asked me to take it over. I was a single mom ER doc. I was not prepared. But when she knew she wasn't going to be around forever, she actually looked for another organization to fold MGEF into. She couldn't find anything, though, that was really up to her standards. She had created and given the last decade plus of her life to an organized, streamlined, very thoughtful gem of a nonprofit, as I've discovered. And she didn't want to hand it over to a group that she felt was wasteful. MGEF still boasts that 95% of all of our donations go to programs. All of our books are open and on our website. You can see all of our audits to show it. And if it weren't for that audit, which costs a fortune, but which we're required to do, and even though it's donated, the percent of what goes to our programs would actually be 97%. Right? Many of the organizations Mom also considered just offered merit scholarships, which left out girls who were most in need. Mom was adamant that every scholarship be need-based, and all of ours are. Girls who've never been to school or have the luxury of time to study or even electricity or a light to study by when they go home can't be expected to compete for a merit scholarship. And besides, Mom was no elitist. In her mind, and in mine, every girl, whether she's going to grow up to become a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, a beautician, or a heavy machine operator, and MGEF has proudly graduated all of these, every girl should have the right to autonomy over her body, her future, and her own self-determination. So no, she didn't find an organization she thought worthy of folding MGEF into. And honestly, I didn't know if I was worthy. Being president of MGEF has been an incredible gift in so many ways, but it was really daunting at first. One of the first things I did when Mom left us was write a letter to be shared with all the girls who we were supporting in Kenya at the time, and I didn't want them to hear about Mom from anyone else. I wanted them to know that we remained committed to them, that we still cared, and I just recently found a copy of that letter. It's on one of the tables there. I put it in a clear frame if you want to read it. It's pretty. That first year, I didn't add any new girls. The future of MGEF was uncertain, and I didn't know if sponsors would stick with us without Mom. Our biggest grantor had just dropped us, and we couldn't afford to make new promises until I knew we could keep the promises we had already made. There were 6 girls that year that came to us for MGEF scholarships, and I had to say no. A year later, as soon as I knew we were going to make it, though, we reached out to bring them back in to have scholarships, but every single one had been married off. Their lives were set. I still think about those girls, and when I was preparing this the other day, I said to Heather, have we said no since? She's like, no, we haven't said no since. Second thing I did, or we did, Dorwood, my father, Cassidy, my niece Hannah, and me, was go to Kenya to make an appearance. I wanted to reassure everybody in person that what I said, I meant. I thought I was going to take the stage, stand up, show them my commitment. Instead, they rose to the occasion. People came from villages far and wide, and they reassured us. They put on a memorial service for Mom that was more moving than anything I could have imagined. They gave speeches, they danced, they sang songs. The only word of which I could understand was the refrain, Babara. At that memorial ceremony, one telling thing really happened. Our father got up to tell a story. He said at first they were like, who is this woman who is coming and taking our girls away? His daughter had run away and defied his wanting to marry her off long before Mom arrived. But he'd been angry that she found in Mom someone to help her go to school. But then he went on proudly about his daughter, who had become a nurse. She returned home, she helped him, she helped their family, their whole village. Now he was bragging about her, literally, and how his own status had been elevated by her success. He ended by admitting that everything was changing. He said, once I forbade my daughter to go to school, but now I command my sons to educate their daughters. There was no more fitting tribute to Barbara Lee Shaw than those words. Now I command my sons to educate their daughters. I'm proud to say that Mom's legacy is still going strong. In 2013, 130 girls had received MGEF scholarships, and now we're up to more than 300. 164 are currently active, enrolled in school. 117 have graduated, many from professional schools, colleges, universities. Our retention rate is better than 91%. This is in a population in which, when we first started, only 1 girl in 100 who even went to school would complete high school. Part of our success is the close relationship we have with the Maasai. We have an established office in Kajiado, its own NGO with its own board of directors, all Maasai women, including now many of our own alumni. Part of our success is also due to community and life skills workshops, which aren't just for girls, but also boys, men, and women, so that even those who aren't in school in our scholarships benefit from outreach. Almost 19,000 Maasai have attended our community and life skills workshops, our mentoring workshops, our women's business training workshops, and our latest edition, Career Day, which has been a huge success, where school counselors and alumni talk to newly graduated high school girls about choosing a career. That's 19,000 and counting. While these numbers sort of speak for themselves, they don't tell the whole story or even begin to show the impact that the education of every girl has, not only on her own life, but on their families and on their communities. There are some amazing MGEF stories. No, so many. I'm just going to give a few examples. Jane Sacia is our first dentist. She founded the Maasai Oral Health Organization and is working to ensure every primary school child in Kajiado County has a toothbrush and a toothpaste. She also puts braces on our students that need them and fixes their teeth when they need it. Catherine Timinoy is a nutritionist working for the African Medical Research Foundation. Nancy Sopilal is our first lawyer. She showed up at our mentoring workshop this year in a brand new, her first, car, which made quite an impression. Abigail Pertet received a scholarship from the MasterCard Foundation to attend Earth University in Costa Rica. She's now farm manager at the renowned Mara Elephant Project. Dr. Gloria Mumeta, some of you met when she was here, our first medical doctor, is now superintendent in charge of the Mushuru Sub-County Hospital. And that brings me tonight to our guest of honor, our speaker, Dr. Carolyn Kashanin Santillo. Caroline was awarded the prestigious Nelson Mandela Fellowship back in 2017, and she just completed medical school this September. In brief about Caroline, come on up. Caroline grew up in the arid plains of southern Loitoktok. It's a sub-county of Kajiado, Kenya, where our MGEF Kajiado office is. She grew up in a boma, in a manyata, which is like a mud home, with her family, her brothers, her sisters, and cousins. Her parents were not educated. They couldn't read or write. She's going to tell you about how, like most of our students, she came to be the first girl in her family to go to school. In 2006, she met Mom and became a part of MGEF to finish nursing school. And now she's completed medical school. Congratulations, Dr. Santillo. But before Caroline takes this mic from me, one last little thing. I want everybody here to remember, as you listen to her, there are over 117 more Maasai MGEF graduates, now empowered, educated women. 10, 20 years ago, they were all just like those Maasai girls that are on the posters there that are in need of sponsors tonight. I mean, they all came to us unable to afford school fees, school uniforms, in desperate search for a better life for themselves and for their families. Any one of those girls, and maybe all of them, could be the next Caroline. Ability, intelligence, drive, ambition, courage, all of which attributes Caroline has. These things know no socioeconomic boundaries. You can be born anywhere in the world, curious, brilliant, brave. But not everyone has the opportunity to make the most of their gifts, and especially not Maasai girls. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Carolyn Kashanin Santillo.